What started out as a beautiful day in the city of Buffalo has turned into a terrible day and one of tremendous heartbreak for every member of our community. We have suffered a mass shooting with multiple casualties and several people injured. This is the worst nightmare that any community can face. The shooter was not from this community. In fact, the shooter traveled hours from outside this community to perpetrate this crime on the people of Buffalo.
At approximately 2:30 today, an individual who the mayor stated is not from this area and is from hours away drove to the Buffalo, went to 1275 Jefferson Avenue to the Tops Market. He exited his vehicle. He was very heavily armed. He had tactical gear. He had a tactical helmet on. He had a camera that he was live streaming what he was doing. The individual exited his car and engaged 4 individuals. He shot 4 people in the parking lot. 3 of those were deceased. 1 individual at this time is surviving the injury. The individual went inside. As I said, he's an 18-year-old white male, walked into the store and began engaging customers inside the store. One of the individuals inside the store is the security guard, a beloved security guard, who was a retired Buffalo police officer, a hero in our eyes, engaged the suspect, fired multiple shots, struck the suspect, but because he had heavily armored plating on, that bullet had no round. The suspect engaged our retired officer, and he was ultimately shot and deceased at the scene. He continued to work his way through the store. Ultimately, he worked his way back towards the front of the store. Buffalo police immediately respond, engage the suspect in the vestibule of the store. And at that point, the suspect put the gun to his own neck. Buffalo police personnel, 2 patrol officers, talked the suspect into dropping the gun. He dropped the gun, took off some of his tactical gear, surrendered at that point, and he was led outside, put in a police car and transported to Buffalo Police Headquarters. So as we said, a total of 13 people were shot today, 10 deceased at the scene, and 3 sustained non-life-threatening injuries. It appears to be non-life-threatening injuries at that point. 4 in total were store employees. One of those was the security guard who has worked at that location for a very long time. Many officers are on scene here, knew him quite well. And the rest of the victims are customers of the store.
This was pure evil. It was straight up racially motivated hate crime from somebody outside of our community, outside of the city of good neighbors, as the mayor said, coming into our community and trying to inflict that evil upon us.
Simone, yes, we're still watching the story here at MSNBC and NBC News, and we're trying to get you the latest information. As you know, the story is only about a couple hours old, and as we get more information from the scene, we can update you right now. We can confirm 7 people are dead in this incident. 1 other person is in critical condition after a shooting at a grocery store. That's Tops. It's a large series of supermarkets that if you're in the Northeast, you're used to that chain. It's similar to the Safeway chain in other parts of the country, Kroger's, and et cetera. Now, they say what happened here is that a man entered the store with a rifle and began firing. There have been various different reports. And what we're trying to do right now is determine what are some of the details. What was he wearing? Was there a manifesto? Was there perhaps some indications of a motive? And we don't know all those answers right now. Again, only 2 hours into this incident from what we're hearing from officials. We've been listening to local police and what they're saying. Obviously, and the investigation continues at this moment as they bring in both regional and national resources to understand what may be happening here. Of course, we'll update you when we understand who is being brought in to understand what happened. 7 dead, again, is what we're understanding. We're also learning at this moment, at 42 minutes after the hour, 4:42 Eastern local, is that the shooter is not dead. There were earlier indications that he may have been. So the suspect, from what we're hearing right now, is that he may not be dead and is actually in police custody. As you look at some of the live pictures here in front of Tops, that on your right-hand side, and give you a sense of the context on your left-hand side of where Tops Friendly Markets in this particular location is. We, of course, are going to continue to watch the live video coming in. At least 2 rifles have been recovered from the scene. We are also hearing, according to senior law enforcement sources. So, Simone, we have all that. We're going to stay right on top of it right here on MSNBC. Continue to reach out to our sources on the ground. We'll have more Simone right after a short break. Stick with us for this story and more.
Welcome, everyone. Very, very sad day. Now, okay, before I even get started, let me just point out, all right, first of all, big trigger warning here. Not only are the details of this case very, very disturbing, but this person did have a manifesto, and I was able to obtain it with the help of Cherry, of course, and this I only set it up here. I like to when I go over things, I like to give a reaction. I like to share that. I like to share that experience with you guys as closely as I can. I have not read this yet, but when I was clicking on it to set it up, so there's definitely going to be a big trigger warning here. So please understand. Now, KC Girl 10, I see you, and I just want to make it clear, even though the subject of politics may come up, we're not going to turn the chat into a political discussion. That's just not what this is about. So, and I'm not criticizing you or anything. I'm just letting you know, yes, people can see you, but this chat is very used to having that understanding here. So that's probably why people are not acknowledging you as much as you want as far as that opinion goes. And you're welcome to that opinion here in this chat. And as a matter of fact, I actually agree with you. This to me is not a gun issue at all. And if it is a gun issue, it's not in the way that you would think, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll get into that. But I do have this manifesto, and this was absolutely racially motivated, and that's the issue that we're going to discuss tonight. I'm going to mention this person's name as little as possible, because I don't want him getting the notoriety that he is looking for. His name is Peyton Gendron. He's from Conklin, New York, which, as they said, was a few hours away from Buffalo. And it says here that he was remanded without bail, and a felony hearing was scheduled for Thursday morning. And it says here, the Attorney General Merrick B. Garland said the Justice Department is investigating this manner as a hate crime and as an act of racially motivated violent extremism. The Justice Department is committed to conducting a thorough and expeditious investigation into this shooting and to seeking justice for the innocent victims. And that security guard, man, kudos to him. Kudos to him for standing up and actually getting a shot in on this dude. I'm going to talk about that stuff too, a little bit, but and I understand that my opinions are not going to be the same as everybody else's opinions. People are allowed to have their opinions in chat. This is a very controversial issue, and it's very it's very provoking. So I am a First Amendment person. I do believe in everyone's freedom to their opinions, but what will not be tolerated is people arguing in the chat. Okay. You can disagree with me or whatever, but please save that for like the comment section. I'm not trying to get into a debate with anybody over anything political or any political issues. That's not what I'm trying to do. Now, if you disagree with, if you somehow agree with this person's racist ideals, you're not even welcome in my chat. You can just fuck off. You're not welcome here. So just put that out there. The only thing that's going to get you booted out of here is if you agree with any of this guy's or sympathize with any of his of the decisions that this man has made, because this was well planned. This was, I don't know if it was well planned, but the issue that I have right now is, you know, there's the gun issue, and you have people that are like, oh my God, you know, you have people on the far left that are going to say, well, that's why we just need to get rid of all the guns. Well, I don't like the idea of living in a country to where the government can do whatever it wants, and then I am not in a position to where I can stand up for myself, and even if I need to, die for defending my rights. So that's where I stand on the gun issue. Personally, I do believe that if more people were armed in that store, maybe it would have been, you know, 12 shot or 10 shot total, or 5 shot, or none. So that's where I stand on that issue. I'm glad that security guard was there. And I'm not blaming anybody out there for what happened to them at all. I'm saying that if the norm, because I'm of the opinion, it's just my opinion, I'm of the opinion that if only shitheads have guns, then only shithead things are going to happen. You know what I mean? I guns are here. They're not going anywhere. It's a pipe dream to even imagine that that we're going to abolish them somehow. Superman's not going to come up and collect all the guns in the world and then throw them out into the sun. That's just not the world that we live in. The world that we live in is bad people are carrying guns and hurting people, you know, needlessly. That's just the fact. It's how the world is right now. So I don't, yeah. So I'm damn sure not going to put myself in a position to where I'm going to be, my life is going to be completely, the fate of my life is going to be completely controlled by a government. No, I'm sorry. I just don't agree with that. I do believe that a government is necessary. I believe that, but I don't believe that. The fact is that it's the opposite of what this country was based on. The reason why the United States became the United States in the first place was because it was trying to escape tyranny, and it succeeded. So I'm not going backwards. No, that's just not where my mindset's going to be. But my other issue, and this is another side of this coin, is you have people who are on the far right who want to try and say that racism is no longer an issue in this country. that it's just something that people complain about, and they're using it for more cancel culture and blah 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 blah. Well, I'm sorry, but this happening is proof that racism is a dangerous problem still that exists in this country. Now, is it the same as it was in the 50s and 60s? No, of course not. But it's still a problem because there are dangerous people out there like this guy. Dangerous people like this person who has a mindset and is driven by ignorance and hatred that makes this apparent that this is still a serious problem in this country. You cannot deny that because 10 people gave their lives showing you this. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I don't think there's any updates, but now this is going to be a very difficult stream to listen to, and it's going to be I already predict that it's going to be a very difficult stream for me to conduct because I get sick to my stomach when I hear people talk like this and believe in things this horrific. But I have this man's manifesto and I am going to go over it. I may not go over all of it tonight because it's actually pretty lengthy, but right, exactly, Toast. I agree with you. It just hides better now. Everybody, we call out people that are on YouTube that are clearly racist. Now, are they dangerous racists, like physically dangerous? Possibly, possibly. Well, we know that Bullhorn Betty is a racist. We know that. We know that she has a very violent criminal record. We know that too. We know that we have seen and shown video footage of her loudly putting out white power signs with her fingers and hanging out with people who are verbally expressing the words white power. And real quick, let me put a pause on that. Again, more ignorance. We're also talking about somebody who just could not understand the concept of fair use. Could not understand it. Toast ended up with 3 strikes. Channel was on the verge of going, but nobody was sweating. Nobody was sweating. At no point was Toast sweating. It was just kind of annoying that she couldn't stream temporarily, but now she can again because she fought it. She was in the right. She was under fair use in her use of streaming Betty's content. And she tried to strike her. Miss anti-cancel culture, right? Anti-cancel culture. And she, tries to cancel somebody because she can't handle the criticism, which is correct criticism. It is accurate criticism. That's the whole thing. All we do is play things of this person and others and what they're saying. That's all we're doing. They just can't stand the mirror being shoved in their face. But this is the kind of ignorance that embraces these ideals. This is, you know what I mean? And guess what? Toast is going live tomorrow. And guess what? Now, Betty, moron, now your channel is totally on YouTube's radar because YouTube does not like false flagging. And you literally abused your striking privileges, your striking ability that every channel has. You abuse that to try to get somebody booted off of YouTube. So, but I digress because I'm sure Toast has plenty more to say to you, and that will be happening tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you subscribe to her because it's going to be a good one. I am sure of it. But moving on, I'm going to go over this person's manifesto, this racist piece of shit. And I'm going to discuss how I feel about it. So again, viewer discretion is absolutely advised here because I'm not even 100% sure I'm supposed to have this. So I'm not 100% sure I'm even supposed to have this. But here's why I feel fine discussing this. Because again, I'm a First Amendment guy, freedom of speech. This guy has a right to feel this way that he feels. Now, planning to hurt people? No, he does not have a right to do that. But he does have a right to have his opinions. That is, you don't get to cherry pick in America what freedom of speech means. You just don't get to do that. It's not responsible. So what we're going to go over here, and then the other reason why I feel perfectly justified in sharing this, besides that obvious reason, the other reason why I feel perfectly justified in saying this is because this isn't the kind of thing that I think that the right way to go about is to hide from it and to keep people from it. I think it's necessary that we know what kind of evil does exist out there. Hiding from this and trying to censor it so that people don't see it, I think is the opposite of the way to go. I think that we as human beings should not patronize each other so much. As Americans, we should not patronize each other so much, and we should be allowed to make our own opinions on whatever is out there. But is something that it is necessary for us to know exists. So I'm even going to share it. All right. So now I'm not going to be able to see the chat. I will check on it once in a while, but I'm not going to be able to really see the chat. So this is page 1 here. You wait for a signal while your people wait for you. What you need to know. I guess this is his little introduction to his ridiculous ideals. What you need to know, if there's one thing I want you to get from these writings, is that white birth rates must change. Wow. In the first sentence, every day the white population becomes fewer in number. To maintain a population, the people must achieve a birth rate that reaches replacement fertility levels in the Western world. That is about 2.06 births per woman. Actually, give me 1 second. There was a news clip that I saw because there was actually a witness, not so much a witness, but a man who talked to this guy the day before, and I really want to find that clip because it was kind of interesting what he was saying. I thought it was in the same article that I had up before. All right. Well, I guess yeah, that's not going to happen. Sorry. He goes on to say that the only, in all caps, white country that reaches these levels is Argentina at 2.247. But not in Europe, not in the rest of Americas, not in Australia. And this thing is covering, like, I don't want that there. There we go. That's still not. Yeah, like, I can't read that last line. I guess I'll just skip it. He says the crisis of mass immigration and sub-replacement fertility is an assault on the European people that, if not combated, will ultimately result in the complete racial and cultural replacement of the European people. Now, like I said, I wish I could find this, but there was a gentleman that was interviewed because he apparently had spoken to this guy the day before this happened outside of the supermarket. So he was obviously casing the place and getting an idea what he was doing there. And this is a guy that he tends to interact with everybody that walks around there. I guess he's well known, something to that effect, and he is a man of color. And then he ends up approaching this guy simply because he had a shirt on that said genius, right? So he says he wants to stop the guy and start a conversation with him, basically to see if he's actually a genius. And he said that they had a really, really interesting conversation. So it was, and he said that the impression that he got was that he was actually a genius. Now, I don't know how old this kid is, but he's obviously very serious about his beliefs because he writes this thing and there's a lot of it. Like, I don't even think I can go over all of it tonight, but you could tell he put a lot of thought, if not all of his thought, into this. This is an intelligent person. This isn't just some dumb hick, man. You know what I'm saying? This isn't just some dumb, hick who just is brought up a certain way and can't even get into a debate. This guy is dropping numbers here. Like, he full on believes in what he's talking about. Says the crisis of mass immigration and sub-replacement fertility is an assault on the European people that, if not combated will ultimately result in the complete racial and cultural replacement of the European people. To see this in full effect, you would have to look at the population statistics in Western nations for the year 2050. Wow. So he says in 2050, despite the ongoing effect of sub-replacement fertility, the population figures shows that the population does not decrease in line with the sub-replacement fertility levels, but actually maintains, and even many white nations rapidly increases, all through immigration, this ethnic replacement, this cultural replacement, this racial replacement. Jesus, man, this is disgusting. He says in bold, this is white genocide. To return to the replacement fertility levels. I'm not going to keep getting into this, guys. Now, what is this right here? The truth is, my personal life and experiences are of no value. I am simply a white man seeking to protect and serve my community, my people, my culture, and my race. Now, right there, guys, right there. What does that sound like to you? Because that sounds like a whole bunch of Southern white pride bullshit to me. That's the same shit these motherfuckers always spew out, isn't it? That's the same shit they hide behind. So how is it not a valid argument when one of these idiots sit there and go, oh, I'm not racist. I just take pride in my people. I take pride in my culture. That's all. I'm not racist. I'm just trying to take pride in my people and pride in my culture, while he's standing there holding an AK-47 and then ends up murdering, 10 people. But that's Sam Hyde. That's not him. This is a different guy. So let's see these questions and answers. These ought to be rich. So this is okay. So this is his plan. This is him stating what he's going to do. The question is, why did you decide to carry out the attack? He says to show the replacers that as long as the white man lives, our land will never be theirs and they will never be safe from us. To directly reduce immigration rates to European lands, to intimidating and physically removing the replacers themselves. Wow. Jesus. To intimidate the replacers already living on our lands to emigrate back to their home countries, to agitate the political enemies of my people into action, to cause them to overextend their own hand and experience the eventual and inevitable backlash as a result. See, this guy's a fucking moron. These people are just stupid. Okay? Like, okay, dude, so you can write. You can write something. Okay, you're smart in that sense, but you're really missing the big picture, dude. And it's really simple. Like, these fucking idiots never fucking think this through. They think that going and shooting 10 people, what did he think? That he was gonna, I mean, like, I don't understand what he thought that outcome would be. I guess he was going to try to commit suicide, but like, because apparently he held a gun to his neck, and then they were actually able to talk him out of doing this. So he didn't even have the guts to go through what he planned on, what he put so much planned on, right? But this dude doesn't put in, he doesn't even consider that the idea, him acting like that, would only fuel the same political movement that he's trying to fight, to creating more gun laws. Like, what does he think? It doesn't work that way, dude. To agitate the political enemies of my people into action. Yeah. They're gonna do exactly what you're trying to. Jesus, dude. He goes on to say, to show the effect of direct action, lighting a path forward for those that wish to follow, a path for those that wish to free their ancestors' land from the replacers' grasp, to be a beacon for those that wish to create a lasting culture, to tell them that they are not alone. Look, dude, again, this is the kind of shit that blows my mind. He's over here acting like, oh, well, you know, we need to take the land back from the immigrants and the black people. Well, dude, first of all, nobody of color, okay, well, African Americans specifically, did not come here by choice originally. They did not have any choice in coming here. Their entire culture and history was robbed from them. Yeah, and his ancestors aren't even from here. Every one of these idiots that claim white power, their fucking ancestors are immigrants. Like, but I get it. Okay, so they think that the argument is that they believe that their race is the more dominant race, that it's the more superior race. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard, dude. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. That makes absolutely no sense. Think about that. Think about that. What is there where, what, name me one thing that an African American has not excelled at here. Like, just one thing that they have not even excelled at. Like, it's the stupidest shit. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it makes no sense, dude. Like this philosophy, and look how well versed it is. He put so much time into writing it, and so far it's just stupidity. Oh, I don't think that's the one I was looking for. Let me just go on. Let's see. To show the effect of direct action, lighting a path forward to those who wish to follow. Dude, no, that's not what happened. See, these people always think that they're going to have some army behind them, dude. That's not what you do. You know what I mean? That's not what happens. Because real racists, real ones, are cowards. Like the majority of them are pure cowards, dude. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Okay, like I could see that happening in some town where a group of proud white boys get together, armed, and decide to do something absolutely crazy. But you know what? Like, if you do that, if it's like try to pull that shit in a predominantly black area where these people have been forced to arm themselves to protect themselves from each other, from themselves, because they have to sell drugs in order to be in order to have some sort of economic equality with the rest of the country. That's their way of doing it. Now, I'm not going to get into, is it their fault? Is it the CIA? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. All I know is that these people have not been privileged at any point in history. And part of what they have to go through on an everyday basis is arm themselves to protect themselves from the crime that takes place. It just does. Yes, there's higher crime rates in inner cities. Absolutely. And I'm not saying anything other than it would be really stupid if you think that you're going to go in there with a few people and then come out on top. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Because racists are idiot cowards. It's just that simple. They know they don't stand a chance. They know they're outnumbered. Because guess what? Maybe they're not outnumbered with white people, but they're definitely outnumbered because they don't have enough white people who think as stupidly as they do. So I don't know why these people think that they're going to get anything done, because all that's going to happen is exactly what happened to this asshole. All that's going to happen is you're going to end up either getting shot and killed, or you're going to end up getting arrested and put in prison and made an example of. That's all that's going to happen. Yeah, it's just racist babble bullshit that doesn't hold any water. We must ensure the existence of our people and failure for white children. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so going on to question, do these groups hold power? Who are the people in these groups? The total number of people in these organizations is in the millions. The total number of groups in the thousands. People from every walk of life, every place of employment and field, but disproportionately employed in military services and public service occupations. Unsurprisingly, ethno-nationalists and nationalists seek employment in areas to serve their nations and community. Now, whenever you hear the word nationalist, right? Whenever you hear the word nationalist, that's always a bad thing. Whenever you hear of a group of people and the word nationalist is in that group of people, that's always a bad thing. Dude, I know. Like, heels in the air, like, I don't give a shit. Dude, it doesn't matter where you come from. Like, it just doesn't matter where you come from. Like, if you hate somebody simply because of the color of their skin or the type of food that they eat, or, I mean, you know, the way that they speak, you know, you're just an ignorant prick. You're an ignorant piece of shit. And I say that because what's the worst that could happen? You learn a little bit about another culture that's different than you. You have to think that you're better than them in some way. There's no supremacy. There's no such thing as any racial supremacy. There's just no such thing, people. I'm just gonna give it to you straight. There's literally no such thing as any racial supremacy. Like, you don't, I mean, I can't even begin to grasp. I can't even begin to grasp what African American people have gone through as far as trying to make it in this country over the past 200 something years. I don't understand it, man. 400 years. I don't understand it. Like, I can't even begin to understand it. But what's funny is these people aren't even trying to. Like, these type of people aren't even trying to. They feel, and whenever you hate something, that hatred is a stem of fear. Fear births hatred is the best way that I can think to put it. Oh my goodness. Linda Randalls. Oh, congratulations on having the first fucking idiotic thing to say in my chat. A black man shot up Subway a long time ago. BLM trashed cities across America. This is not your problem. Were you this hard on the Subway, dude? Again, you're talking like I'm talking about this being a gun issue. Okay, that's a race issue. If he did that for racist issues, if for racist reasons, then fuck him too. Absolutely. Fuck him too, because that's not the answer. My point is, this doesn't get anything done. This guy is simply trying to put his name out there. He's trying to be remembered. He tried to martyr himself and he failed because he didn't even have the balls to do it. Like, all okay, not the first dumb thing. I haven't been looking at chat, but I caught that. Yeah, Linda, you can kiss my fucking ass with that bullshit. Because you're sitting here talking to me like I'm somehow trying to defend. Like, when you do that, when you make a comment like that, what it comes off to me and the rest of the chat, it comes off like you're defending this dude and his reasons for what he did. Ooh, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. And I'm gonna dismiss that as being dumb. You know what I mean? Like, that's just you being a fucking ignorant asshole, and I'm not even like mad at you for it. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the benefit of the doubt that you're just stupid and not hateful. Just fucking ignorant. Linda's one of those people that likes to talk real loud about African Americans, but then tries to talk like one whenever they're having a conversation at work together. That's Linda's totally one of those people. I guarantee you. Oh, no, you're not outrightly defending him. See, this is the problem, is you don't even realize that you're defending him, but you were actually defending him. But I will give you the benefit of the doubt that you were too fucking stupid to realize that you were defending him. Because you were. How do you justify wording it the way that I said? Was I that hard on a black guy that shot up a Subway? Are you kidding with that? That's not defending this guy that I'm talking about right now. That's not somehow come off as some attempt to justify his actions in some way, or criticize me for criticizing him. Get real, man. Wake up. Look in the mirror. Self-awareness. Because you obviously have a problem. And so he's saying here that there are millions, there are organizations, thousands of organizations, and millions of people just like him. But where are they? Where are they exactly? Where did he get his current beliefs? He says mostly from the internet. Big shocker there. There was little to no influence on my personal beliefs by people I met in person. I read multiple sources of information from all ideologies and decided that my current one is the most correct. Wow. Okay. Now, listen to what he says here. He admits to being ignorant. He admits it. Mostly from the internet. Okay? There was little to no influence on my personal beliefs by people I met in person. I read multiple sources of information from all ideologies and decided that my current one is the most correct. So he basically made all of his judgment based on shit that he handpicked to read off of the internet, saying that no interactions, no experiences in his life had any influence over his beliefs. No interactions with African Americans, immigrants, nobody. Anybody of any different color. None of that had any type of influence over his ideals. That is what you call purely fucking ignorant. All this guy did was read shit off of the internet and then decided to make up his mind. Ten people dead for no reason other than the fact that this guy was an internet junkie. Did you carry out the attack for fame? I carried this attack out so I can influence others into defending themselves from the replacers. Jesus. Become infamous was the only way. So he admits it. He admits it right there. His plan here is to gain some sort of notoriety amongst like-minded morons. This guy is basically JLR with slightly bigger balls. That's all this dude is. Because I promise you, guess what? JLR is going to be speaking on this dude's behalf on a public level. I guarantee it. It's just a matter of catching him do it. Because he's not going to do it on his YouTube channel. He's not. It's just going to happen in a public place, and somebody's going to get a hold of it, and I'm going to be playing it when that shit fucking happens. I guarantee you. Why did you target those people? They are an obvious, visible, and large group of replacers from a culture with higher fertility rates and strong, robust traditions that seek to occupy my people's lands and ethnically replace my own people. It might have eased me if I knew all the blacks I would be killing were criminals or future criminals. But then I realized, oh God, then I realized all black people are replacers just by existing in white countries. Over what time span did you plan the attack? I've been passively preparing for this attack like every American does by buying ammo, surplus military gear, and shooting irregularly for a few years. It wasn't until the beginning of January 2022 that I actually got serious. Why did you choose this particular moment in time to attack? The best time to attack was yesterday. The next best time is today. Every day that goes by without an attack, hundreds of more non-whites immigrate to white countries and spawn children. Waiting any longer will make it more difficult to get non-whites out later on. Trying to get rid of this. All right. There we go. Why did you choose firearms? Well, that's a stupid question. Why does he think anybody would ask that? Of course, I mean, this is just him, by the way, guys. This is just him, like imagining people asking him questions. This is him stroking himself, right? This is just him imagining people asking him all these questions and being famous from it. He says, because they work. There are very few weapons that are easier to use and more effective at killing than firearms, especially the Bushmaster XM15 I will be using. The effect it would have on social discourse, the extra media coverage they would provide, and the change to gun laws that will be pushed away or that will be pushed will all help my case. So he actually wants the gun laws pushed. Awesome. All right. Why did you choose Redacted for the place of the attack? Redacted has been the highest Black population percentage and isn't that far away. Plus, New York has heavy gun laws, so it would ease me if I knew that any legal armed civilian was limited to 10-round magazines or cucked firearms. I replaced the name of the city to Redacted because I'd prefer that the FBI and local police don't know until the attack has started. After the attack, somebody can switch it over, please. Do you consider the attack an act of terrorism? By definition, yes, but I believe it's a partisan action against an occupying force. Do you feel any remorse for the attack? I don't know. I haven't done it yet, stupid. But if I were to guess, it would be yes. All right. This is going to be tough, guys. Did or do you personally hate blacks? A black man or woman living in their homelands? No. A black man or woman choosing to invade our lands, live on our soil, live on government support, and attack and replace our people? Yes, I dislike them. Now, before I go on, that brings me to an interesting point. Type of one, if you believe Abraham Lincoln to have been a racist. Type of 2, if you do not believe Abraham Lincoln to be a racist. Very interested to see. Actually, let me just create a poll here. I'll do that right quick. Okay, so okay, so I got a lot of 2s, but all right. He goes on to answer that question. Did or do you personally hate blacks? I hate that he refers to blacks. It's gross. A black man or woman choosing to invade our lands, live on our soil, live on government support, and attack and replace our people. Yes, I dislike them. Jesus. The only people I truly hate are the converts, those from our own people that turn their backs on their heritage, turn their backs on their cultures, turn their back on their tradition, and become blood traitors to their own race. They are not completely hopeless, however. I believe some can come back. So it's important to welcome them when they are awoken instead of shaming and ostracizing them. Did you or do you personally hate foreigners of other cultures? No, many people and their cultures are great, but it's important to note that they can only stay great if they're separated from each other. Wow. Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, so I've only got 33 votes so far. And so far it's at 86% that no, Abraham Lincoln was not a racist. And I know you guys are wondering, where's he going with this? What is the point of this? Abraham Lincoln was something called, now he was not, now he was an abolitionist, right? But he was also something else. He was on the board or on the committee for this official group of people, and he was a colonist. Okay, so did Abraham Lincoln do everything that he did as far as freeing slaves? Absolutely. Abraham Lincoln did great things as far as freeing the slaves goes. Sure, he won the Civil War. You know, I get it. Absolutely. But he was something called a colonist. For those of you who don't know what a colonist is, basically, in layman's terms, Abraham Lincoln, what he wanted to do was he thought there should not be slavery. Absolutely not. There should absolutely not be slavery. But if African Americans are going to be free, then they need to do it somewhere else. That was what he basically believed in. He basically wanted to put all African Americans on an island to be free and live but just not here. That's right. At Burnt Toast, I don't know much about how he felt about Native Americans. But from what I remember, I hear a lot of stories about the U.S. Army just killing tribes for absolutely no reasons. So yeah, I don't doubt that for 1 second. So you got to understand, I mean, it's been a very short time. Now to me, to answer that, you know, if you're a colonist and you believe that a certain group of people should not be living amongst you, well, that fucking makes you a racist, man. Sorry. And that's what I'm saying, is even like the most noble, the most stand-up people in our history, right? Even they were likely racists. The people who have done so much for immigrants and for African Americans, for so many of them did so much, but you have to understand they were living in a time where it was just likely that they felt superior. I mean, most of us, I mean, there's those of us, there's vegans. You know what I'm saying? There's vegans that feel like, oh my God, how dare you hurt this poor animal? But I guarantee you that vegan, chances are that vegan still feels better than that animal because they see them as an animal. You see what I'm saying? And that's just how society painted these people to, you know, it's just how they were looked at. You know how much progress it's taken to get us to a society where we don't see things that way? but it's fresh. It's still very fresh. If you look at it in the grand scheme of things, in a period of time over what, 400 years, it's been a very short time since our society has adopted this. It hasn't been that long. It's been like what, maybe 50 years? In the past 50 years that we've been doing this? Like, think about that. We've got a long way to go. So when people are sitting there trying to say that, oh man, that's over with. That's never, dude, there's still people out there like this. Like this guy right here who wrote this manifesto. Do you personally hate foreigners or other cultures? No, many people in their cultures are great, but it's important to note that they can only stay great if they're separated from each other. I read that already. Do you believe those you attacked were innocent? There is no non-white living on white lands that is innocent. Wow. Wow. Did you intend to survive the attack? Yes, but death was a definite possibility. These situations are chaotic and virtually impossible to control. No matter the planning, survival was better alternative to death in order to further spread my ideals by media coverage and to deplete resources from the state by my own imprisonment. So he did intend to get caught. I mean, but dude, like, this is the thing, is this guy is not spreading anything. He's not spreading anything useful for his cause. He's only talking about himself here. That's all he's doing. Yes, beyond all doubt. Let's see. Was the attack anti-immigration in origin? Yes, beyond all doubt, anti-immigration, anti-ethnic replacement, and anti-cultural replacement. Jesus Christ, dude, there's so much more of this shit. Okay, see, this is a guy who's not very smart. One question here is, if you survived, did you intend to go to trial? His answer is yes, and to plead guilty. Dude, you don't go to trial if you plead guilty, bro. You don't go to trial if you plead guilty. You go to trial when you plead not guilty. That's how that works. Let's see. Was the attack anti-diversity in origin? No, the attack was not an attack on diversity, but an attack on the name of diversity to ensure that peoples of the world remain true to their traditions and faiths and do not become watered down and corrupted by the influence of outsiders. They must be separate. The attack was to ensure a preservation of beauty, art, and tradition. In my mind, a rainbow is only beautiful due to its variety of colors. Mix the colors together and you destroy them all, and they are gone forever. And the end result is far from anything beautiful. Dude, what? It's a ridiculous analogy. Ridiculous analogy. Did you intend to kill police officers or other enforcers of the state? No, although modern police officers exist to serve the elite, many of them are of decent character and would make me very upset if I killed one, but only you know if I did. If you survived, did you intend to go to trial? Yes, and plead guilty. Stupid moron. Are you a Christian? No, I do not ask God for salvation by faith, nor do I confess my sins to him. I personally believe there is no afterlife. I do, however, believe and practice many Christian values. So at least, okay, I will give this guy that much credit because he's out here. He's at least not one of these jackasses that say they did it in the name of Jesus and that God is meant to have a pure race and blah 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 and did this for God. He's at least not one of those people. But it says here, Are you a fascist? Yes, fascism is one of the only political ideologies that will unite whites against the replacers. Since that is what I seek, calling me a fascist would be accurate. Let's do this. Okay, so the definition of fascism: a political philosophy, movement, or regime such as that of the fascists that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition, a tendency towards or actual exercise of strong autocratic or dictatorial or dictatorial control. So that is the definition of fascism. Gross. That doesn't sound good to me at all. That doesn't sound in the slightest bit appealing to me at all. So why is it that this is what really blows my mind? Because so many of these people love to call themselves patriots, right? At least this guy's not calling himself a patriot. He's basically saying he's basically saying he's a terrorist. He's admitting to being a terrorist. But I mean, this is one of the most honest racists that I've ever talked to. That I've ever talked about or read about. I will say that much. He's at least one of the most honest ones, because he's not, he. But what he has to understand, and what these racist idiots like, because my thing is the ones that call themselves patriots blow my mind. The bullhorn Bettys and the fucking wipey boy TV on the radio. These idiots, like, they claim to be patriots, right? But don't they realize that, like, that the Nazi party were our enemies in World War II? That, like, every veteran that fought in World War II, you're disrespecting them by spreading Nazi ideology? Do you understand that it's treason, basically? That they are an enemy? Even though they were defeated, it's not like they became our friends afterwards. No, we defeated them and the war was over. But that's because that means, okay, if you're a Nazi, you need to shut the fuck up about it, because nobody wants to hear that shit anymore. You're done. We stopped it. We stopped you. Okay? That was America, the United States of America, the US military that did this. Okay? They're an enemy. They are an American enemy. So when you sit there and preach these Hitler ideologies, like, you realize that's just basically treason, right? Like, it's stupid. It's just plain dumb. So you don't get to sit here and wave an American flag and be like, oh, don't tread on me. No, dude. Like, you don't get to wave an American flag and a Nazi flag. Like, it just doesn't work. Have an American flag hanging up with with SS tattooed on your shoulder, like, that's just fucking dumb. It just shows that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't have any conviction in any of in any beliefs of anything. Are you a white supremacist? Yes, I would call myself a white supremacist. After all, which race is responsible for the world we live in today? I believe the white race is superior in the brain to all other races. Wow. Jesus Christ. Are you a racist? Yes, I'm racist because I believe in differences of capabilities between races. Are you intolerant? Sure. The last virtues of a dying nation are tolerance and empathy, and I want none of it. Wow. Tolerance and apathy is what he said here. Are you an anti-Semite? And he writes yes in all bold caps. He says, I wish, oh God, I don't even like reading this out loud. He says, I wish all Jews go to hell. Go back to hell where you came from, demon. But in reality, a Jew, hold on, what I just did there. But in reality, a Jew confined to Judea, where he can't spread his people or beliefs, is of no concern to me. It's important to note that with proper connection to the internet, that is impossible. Are you a neo-Nazi? I support neo-Nazism, but I am not a member of any neo-Nazi groups. I decide what that makes me. Are you conservative? No, conservatism is corporatism in disguise. I want no part of it. Okay, so wow. Are you a homophobic, anti-LGBTQ? I believe that problems involving the LGB, drop the T in parentheses, are very insignificant. If one is actually part of the LGB or LGB group and they are loyal to the people, that is fine with me. Transgenderism, however, is a mental illness and should be addressed as such. Jesus Christ. Are you right wing? Depending on the definition, sure. Are you left wing? Depending on the definition, sure. I see what he means here. Let me get to that. Are you a socialist? Depending on the definition, worker ownership of the means of production, it depends on who those workers are, their intentions, who currently owns the means of production, their intentions, and who currently owns the state and their intentions. That's not an answer. Like, so wait a minute. Basically, is he saying, because maybe I'm reading that wrong. So here he is, and he doesn't believe in people living off the government and assistance, right? But if this became a socialist country tomorrow, make no mistake that that's exactly what would be taking place. It's the difference is everybody would be on it, right? And it takes a dictatorship to run that, right? So it's basically what he's talking about. But what he's talking about, it should be just a strictly white nation that everybody is getting an equal amount, right? No matter how hard they work. And there is a dictator overseeing all of this and making sure that it happens. That's basically what his beliefs are, which is ridiculous. And it's very anti-American. By living in the United States, weren't you an immigrant yourself? Yes. And it seems we immigrants seem to bring a whole lot of issues, a whole host of issues. Although the land technically belongs to its native people, the United States now belongs to whites because removing whites from all the United States is impossible. They're simply rooted too deeply into the land. The same thing applies with other white countries that are not in Europe. Jesus, man. So are you saying that no other cultures have been rooted into the United States? Like, is that supposed to be funny? Like, I promise you, the Irish are rooted in here. I promise you that. The Irish are definitely rooted in here. And I promise you at this point, African Americans are rooted in here. Native Americans, rooted. Like, Hispanics, dude, go to Miami. You tell me that Hispanics are not rooted in California or Florida or Texas. You try and tell me that. Or in New York. And he admits that he's radicalized. This guy's not delusional at all. Like, maybe delusional in the sense of his maybe delusional in the sense that in his ideals and his beliefs, but make no mistake, like, he's perfectly aware of his actions. He's absolutely aware of this dude is going to get the death penalty if New York has the death penalty. Is there a particular person that radicalized you the most? Yes, and his name is Brenton Harris Tarrant. Brenton's live stream started everything you see here. Brenton started my real research into the problems with immigration and foreigners in our white lands. Without his live streams, I would likely have no idea what the real problems the West is facing. Were you taught violence and extremism by video games, music, literature, cinema? No, only the truth caused me to seek violence. This guy's basically, his manifesto is basically him interviewing himself. It's just him stroking himself. This isn't about any movement. This is just about him. Yeah, totally. I agree. He needs to be locked up, and he needs to be, whatever justice comes to that dude, I'll take it as long as it's justice. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, they're going to bury that dude under the prison if they don't have the death penalty. So, did you always hold these views? When I was 12, I was deep into communist ideology. Talked to anyone from my old high school. Talk to anyone from my old high school and ask about me, and you will hear from age 15 to 18. However, I consistently moved farther to the right. On the political compass, I fall in the mild, moderate, authoritarian left category, and I would prefer to be called a populist. Wow. Like, people, if you don't think there's such a thing as a Dixiecrat, pay attention. Pay attention. Don't think that just because people are on the far left that they're not racist, crazy fucks like this guy. Don't think that, because this guy is proof. This guy is as far to the left as it goes, except just on this particular social issue. Were your beliefs given to you by your family, friends, society, etc.? No, politics was never really discussed in my family or in friend groups. Who do you consider white? Those that are ethnically and culturally European. Who do you consider non-white? Those who are not ethnically and culturally European. Do you consider yourself a leader? No, just a partisan. Did you have ties to any other partisans, freedom fighters, ethno soldiers? I support many of those that take a stand against ethnic and cultural genocide. Brenton, isn't that what you're doing? Isn't that what you did? That's a mass shooting. You shot 13 people. You're going to tell me if you didn't have the means to kill 13,000, 13 million, you're going to tell me that you wouldn't consider that genocide? That's genocide. You wouldn't have done it? He says, I have never had, he names these names: Brenton Tarrant, Patrick Crucius, John Ernest, Robert Bowers, Philip Manshouse, Luca Trainee, Anders Breivik, Dylan Roof, Anton London, Peterson, Darren Osborne, etc. Way to go, buddy. Good for you, dude. Now you just gave the FBI a whole new list of people to keep their eye on. If convicted, do you expect to stay in prison? Yes, I do wish to see how the world plays out. After all, if I became old in the same prison, I would only assume that we have passed the point of no return and will die out, and that I have failed. If we do rise up against the replacers, I expect that I will be let out and honored amongst my people. That's not going to happen, dude. Let me give you a spoiler on how this is going to work out. You're going to get killed in prison. I guarantee it. Like, you're going to be in a New York prison and you're going to get shanked. I don't care if you're under the protection of the white supremacists group in the prison. I don't care about that. Because what happens, this is what happens. Politics take place between these groups, whether you like it or not. It's how it happens. Politics takes places in between these groups, and you're going to get sold out. You are going to get sold. Guarantee it. Because they're going to want him real bad in there. If convicted, do you expect to stay in prison? I already read that. Why do you care so much about Europe? Aren't you an American? The United States, just like the rest of the colonies in Europe, is simply an offshoot of the American people. A finger on the hand of the body of Europe. The origins of my language are European. My culture is European. My political beliefs are European. My philosophical beliefs are European. My identity is European. And most importantly, my blood is European. That is actually true. You're an immigrant. I mean, most of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory at this point. This is just him stroking himself here, man. This is not any... this is a relevant thing to go over here. Won't your attack do more harm than good? He says, no, there isn't a successful, influential, grand movement established just yet, and no leading organizations. There is no great structure created that could be brought to harm. As for how the public perceives us, did they perceive us any differently after the attack than they did before? No. No. Now we know that you're a threat. Like, now we know that you're more of a threat. That's all this is. Because I'll tell you, all it makes me want to do is carry a gun so that if that shit goes down in front of me, I can take you out. That's all this makes me want to do. That's all that makes me feel. It doesn't make me go, oh my gosh, we need to do something about the guns in this country. And it doesn't make me go, oh my gosh, if we could only talk reason to this person. You think, does this guy come off to you in the slightest bit as the type of guy that can be reasoned with or steered from his beliefs? No. That dude is a threat. He needs to be locked up. Now, I am curious as to if the FBI had knowledge of this guy. If they had enough to arrest him in the first place, could they have stopped this from happening? I'm curious about that. I'm not saying that's the case because I don't know. He even asks himself, he makes this point here where he says, won't your attack result in calls for the removal of gun rights in the United States? He says, yes. And that is the plan all along. You said you would fight to protect your rights in the Constitution. Soon the time will come. Now, what he's trying to come off as here is he's like, well, if guns become illegal, then that's going to force us to have an uprising. But this is the thing is you're not going to do that because we still have all that's going to happen, the worst case scenario is there'll be slightly more gun control. There'll be gun laws that will that are going to be designed to minimize someone like this or someone with mental health issues, which I don't agree with. I don't agree in changing those laws or tightening up those laws. I don't personally, but this is the reason why. Because in theory, he has kind of a point. In theory, he's thinking, okay, well, what'll happen is, if more people start doing this, then what's going to happen is the left government is going to be like, we need to put a stop to this, and then they're just going to start making laws. And then what'll happen is, as a result, you get those from my cold dead hands type people that are going to go, come and take my gun. I dare you. But that's the thing, is there's never going to be a law that comes into play where they're going to be knocking down on people's doors and taking their guns. They didn't even do it to this guy, even though they probably had enough reason to think that he was going to do this. But here's the thing. This guy's missing the big picture because he thinks what he's going to do is inspire a race war. He's somehow making the gun law situation a race thing, and it's not. It's not. Because I am absolutely pro-gun. Dude, there's a Facebook group that I belong to. You know what it's called? It's called Black Guns Matter. It is a Facebook group run by African Americans who strongly believe in the Second Amendment. And they are gun enthusiasts. And I never see any hateful shit in there, nothing like that. They just talk about guns. That's all they talk about. They talk about guns. These are people who are proud to be American. And they're proud of their rights. So this guy thinks he's going to start a race war. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is people are going to be fighting for their rights. People of all different ethnicities are going to fight for their right to carry and arm themselves. That's all that is. It's not going to start a race war. What the fuck is this guy thinking? Because I promise you this, if it was just white people that rose up and fought for their right to bear arms, well, they wouldn't stand a chance. They wouldn't stand a chance. Against the U.S. military, we still probably don't even stand a chance. We don't have the technology and the weaponry that the American government has. I mean, think about that. But that's not the point. But think about that for a second. Like, this guy thinks, okay, well, what? Just white people are going to rise up and have a chance against the United States government, against all of the branches of the United States military? Really? No, dude. Do you actually believe this garbage? He asks himself. Yes, and I have never felt more sure about anything else. Well, dude, you're going to learn in prison. You're going to be forgotten about. Democracy is the only solution. Why are you committing to force? He says democracy is mob rule, and the mob itself is ruled by our enemies. The global and corporate-run press controls them. The education system, long since fallen to the long march through the institutions carried out by the Marxists, controls them. The state, long since heavily lost to its corporate bankers, controls them, and anti-white media machine controls them. Do not suffer under the delusion of an effortless, riskless democratic victory. Prepare for war, prepare for violence, prepare for risk, loss, struggle, death. Force is the only path to power and the only path to true victory. Violence isn't the answer. Why are you using force? There is no nation in the world that wasn't founded by or maintained by the use of force. Force is power. History is the history is the history of power. Violence is power, and violence is the reality of history. Violence is the only way to make real change in the world. The reason why peaceful protests are allowed is because they don't make an actual difference. What makes you think that you have all the answers? I don't, but I may have some. Take from my views that which works, discard that which does not. What a cop out that is. Victory is all that matters. Listen to this bullshit cop out. What makes you think you have all the answers? I don't, but I may have some. Take from my views that which works, discard that which does not. Oh, like that's anybody, dude. Dude, this kid. Like, yeah, I don't give a shit about this dude. As far as, let's see. I'm just going to kind of pick and choose some of these questions because I don't give a shit why he blames immigrants and capitalists for anything. Like, I don't care. I don't care what this guy's political views are. Why attack immigrants when the Jews are the issue? Because they can be dealt with in time, but the high fertility replacers will destroy us now. It is a matter of survival. We destroy them first. Jesus. So this is going to be a tough one, guys. So he basically admits to targeting children. He says, it says, children are always innocent. Do you think that you are a monster for killing an innocent? He says, children of replacers do not stay children. They become adults and reproduce, creating more replacers to replace your people. They grow up and vote against your people's own wishes. For the interest of their own people and identity, they grow up and take the potential homes of your people for themselves. They occupy positions of power, remove wealth, and destroy social trust. Any invader you kill of any age is one less enemy your children will have to face. Would you rather do the killing or leave it to your children, your grandchildren? That is the most disgusting. That's easily the most disgusting and disturbing comment that I read on this thing yet. It was incredibly, I don't even know historical Nazi propaganda points. But it's really disturbing to me how manipulative he is. He's saying he's basically martyring himself. He's like, I'm doing the dirty work because a war is coming later on. Would you rather it be me that does the killing than these kids growing up and then your children have to kill them when they're adults? That's basically his justification there, but that's really disturbing. Yeah, it's pure evil, absolute pure evil. Because I mean, he's basically saying a war is coming anyway. Does he think this war is going to happen tomorrow? No. So he's contradicting himself. He's saying, well, I'm killing 10 people. One or two of them might be kids, right? And I'm doing that so that your children won't have to kill children when they have to kill these children when they grow up. Disgusting, man. I'm going to see if there's anything else. This is wow. Hold on. This is really, really disgusting stuff. I'm not even going to read this stuff, but what I'm showing right here, guys, is his justification of how he believes, and he thinks he's proving it scientifically that whites are superior to African Americans. That's crazy. And then he goes on here, like giving like a some sort of like, how am I supposed to, some sort of a chromosome explanation, um or an IQ average uh of blacks versus whites. But that's not, I mean, maybe it's because of assholes like you who robbed them of having a decent education for 400 years. Did you ever think of that? I mean, there's just all kinds of gross shit in here, dude. Yeah, I believe it, man. I believe it. Yeah, this is not an easy one to do, guys. The subjects are very sensitive. I mean, you're not going to convince me. Only if I'm a fucking idiot are you going to like lay out this shit and think that it's going to convince me that what you're saying has any validity. Like he states right here, he says blacks are 7 times more likely than whites to commit murder. Race is a better predictor of crime than poverty. And then he shares a website, and the website, like he shares a link, like he's sharing, receipts to back it up. But the website is called colorofcrime.com, dude. So colorofcrime.com, that tells me it's probably some racist propaganda. There's no validity to that. And he's like, here it says in New York City, 1% of people arrested for shootings were white, while 74% were black. In New York City, 61% of people arrested for robbery were black. In New York City, 43% of people arrested for rape were black. And then, I mean, like, did you ever think that there's something called profiling? Did you ever think of that? Maybe that's actually part of the problem. You're saying that the majority were arrested. All that does is back up that there's that much more racism that needs to be addressed. Because I promise you that there's plenty of white people out there raping and robbing, plenty, that are just not getting caught because they hide behind daddy's trust fund. Maybe not the robbers, but dude, what is this gross ass shit? Let me see this. What the fuck is this? Jesus, dude. This is the grossest shit in the world. Jesus. Sorry, I'm just looking at this stuff. Wow, this picture right here saying to New York City crime statistics in 2014. If New York City were all white, rape would be down 83%, murder would be down 91%, shooting would be down 96%. Like, this is disgusting. And it's just more about just hate, just pure hatred. Like, the fact that this manifesto exists, how dare anybody try to say that racism is not a problem anymore? How dare anybody say that? I mean, how can you possibly look at yourself in the mirror and not acknowledge that? Let me see, what's Toast saying? This is the data they used in the 1400s to 1900s to prove POC are genetically inferior. People of color are genetically inferior to justify saying we're only animals and not human. It was widely believed, still believed by racists, right? And then later used by Nazis for their propaganda. It's mind blowing to me that you can actually sit here and say that to yourself. You know, oh man, you know, it's pride. It's not racism, dude. It's racism. It's racism. If you're taking pride in a culture and in being involved in a culture, this is why I shit on these people with their Confederate flags. Because if you're taking pride in a culture that stood up against the United States government, had an uprising against the United States government because they believed that African Americans were of such a lowly species that you don't pay them for work, that they're just like any other any horse or any oxen that's going to pull and plow, or any mule that's going to plow. You know, this is, you feel entitled to purchasing them, men, women, with minds, with hearts, because you didn't feel that they were good enough people to pay for their labor. And because of that, because of your greed, and your greed is justified by your sheer hatred and racism and ignorance, you're going to tell me that that's just, that you taking pride in something like that isn't racist? It's absolutely racist. It's the epitome of racism. If you were waving a Confederate flag and saying Southern pride, dude, like, you're defending racism in its worst possible, in the worst way it's ever been in the history of this country. And I'm not saying not to be proud of being white, you know, like, in the sense of like, well, you know, like Twin Cities citizen here saying my white skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair are all recessive genes. Some melanin would be awesome. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying if you go and look in the mirror and go, man, I'm beautiful because I'm white, well, then you're a fucking racist piece of shit. But what I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with being white and looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, I'm beautiful, you know, whatever your race, whatever your culture, whatever, you know, whatever you are, whatever your genes are, there's absolutely nothing wrong with looking at yourself in the mirror and saying that you're beautiful. But saying that you're beautiful because of that, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't agree with that. And I believe that on every side, you know. Now, because of your culture, that's a different story. because your culture may be absolutely beautiful, and to have a deep understanding of the history of your culture, and loving that about yourself. That's just a part of your personality. There's nothing wrong with taking pride in that either. But because you look in the mirror and you think that just because the color of your skin is a point to take pride over because you think it's more beautiful than any other color of skin. Yeah, no, I don't agree with that at all. I appreciate everybody joining me tonight, man, because I know this is a difficult subject to talk about. And I know it was difficult hearing those ideologies, but we have to understand, people, like that this incident is proof that there is still a serious problem out there. Um this is somebody who thinks this through and planned this. He planned on and he did it just to make a statement. Just to make a statement. This guy felt so strongly about his beliefs that he planned to, and he put himself in tactical gear, wore a helmet, everything, so that he could take out as many people as he can with the risk of himself getting killed. And now he's arrested and he's going to prison for the rest of his life, guaranteed. But it's going to be a short life. It's going to be a short life. I'm calling that right now. I'm almost positive of it. But yeah, don't ever come at me with Southern pride and I'm not racist, it's Southern pride. But no, man, like, and I'm not saying not to be proud of the fact that your grandma can cook some really good Southern cooking. Southern cooking is good, man. It's real good. But guess why? Guess why it's good? Yeah, that's why. Yeah. I mean, you also don't get to take credit for adopting a culture that you basically stole from. Somebody back in your ancestors' days took an African American woman, put her in the kitchen, and said, "Make me the best possible food that you can make." And then you get to take credit for Southern cooking? No, you don't get to take credit for that. You don't get to take credit for that. It's not yours. This is a true crime channel, among many other things. Yes. I really want it to be to where we can talk about anything. Those of us who follow true crime isn't the only thing that we have opinions about and we have feelings about. So I want this to be the kind of place where we can discuss those things. That's right. We all look the same on the inside, man. Thank you. Real crime. Yes. Yeah. Leave the true crime to, MGL. That's what that shit has become. So that's why we call it real crime here. Yeah, I definitely want everybody to feel comfortable. I mean, we're going to talk about very uncomfortable things here sometimes, man, but I take pride in having a channel to where you guys should feel free to be able to express your opinions. Because, you know, I mean, now you're free. Again, it's not a safe place. You know what I mean? Because like that one person gets up here and brings up the dude from the subway that was an African American who shot up Subway, and starts bringing up BLM. That's, you know, and wording it like, did I give him as much of a hard time? Like, that's some really suggestive shit. And when it comes off suggestive like that, and maybe you don't even realize that about yourself, I'm gonna fucking call you on it. Because at least maybe you just worded the shit wrong, but at least maybe me calling you out on that will teach you to be a little bit more careful and fucking running your mouth the next time. Like, use your brain before you use your mouth. Yeah, this has been progress, people. This has been progress. Like, the fact that racism is less and less tolerated as we progress. We progress with technology. We progress with uh, people in government. We've progressed with people with you know, we've progressed in the sense that more and more people of diversity are able to have more opportunity here in this country. It's happening with women too. You know, so this is, it's not even it's simple evolution, man. This isn't even me. This is fucking Darwin. You know, this progress. It's progress. Yeah, I agree. Right. And we can't be in the dark about this stuff. You know? Like, I think I thought it was educational for me to know that there was somebody out there um who is capable of this, and that there's actually a network of people who communicate and share information. They make up this propaganda and they spread this propaganda around amongst each other. um you know, this stuff is happening, you know, just like there's you know, kiddie porn sites and networks where these people share um information. I mean, that it's important that we're aware of the fact that this goes on, that at any given time somebody could just decide to do something horrifically purely evil for the sake of doing it for evil reasons. This guy didn't even deny what he was doing was evil. I mean, he didn't really admit it, but he described basically evil acts. This is a guy who doesn't believe that when you die there are going to be any consequences for your actions. So, you know, I mean, this is a guy who, I mean, and that's okay if you're an atheist. I respect that, but this is somebody who really has no fear of any consequence for his actions. And that's your right, Petty Patty. Good for you. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of things that I just don't agree with that are happening right now. You know, I don't know how I feel about the whole Ukraine thing. Like, where do I want to help them? Sure, but where's the line where it's hurting us to help them? You know what I mean? Where's that line? So I have mixed feelings about that. I mean, I'm sure there was a deeper reason why this dude, I mean, he was driven to do what he did. We're talking about a guy who admitted that he had he developed this opinion of himself, or these ideals, and he developed these by just surfing the internet. Like, he sits there surfing the internet and collecting all this information, and then he decided he's going to go out and put on tactical gear and arm himself with an automatic weapon or a semi-automatic weapon, and then shoot up a public place and target people of color. I mean, it's just that simple. That's what he did. But who knows what drove him to that? Who knows if he's got micro penis, sexually frustrated? Who knows? Struggles with homosexuality, maybe. I don't know. I mean, who knows? But he's obviously got problems, but those problems don't excuse his actions, because he knew exactly what he was doing. He writes this manifesto basically naming exactly why and not making any bones about it at all. And he planned it. But it goes to show, people, there are people out there that are that dangerous. And they're semi-intelligent. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Thanks for joining me tonight. I realize the subject matter was difficult, but I love you, and we will do this again very soon, my